Carolina blew this one, Skip. They didn't handle the pressure in the second half. And if you watch Kansas throughout this tournament, Skip, they come on, they turn up the intensity in the second half as far as defensive pressure, and they get out in transition even better than what they did in the first half. I thought Carolina did a great job in the first half of neutralizing some of that transition for the simple fact Carolina owned the boards. And we talked about this, Skip. You were like, look, they're a big team. They're going to own the glass. And they did a tremendous job. They had 24 offensive rebounds. Let that sink in. They had 24 offensive rebounds. Kansas had 27 defensive rebounds as a team.
Well, look at the final rebounding totals.
Plus 20.
With 55 to 35. You can't win that game?
That was the only reason they were able to keep the game close was because of the offensive rebounding, because they shot the ball so poorly. In the second half, Skip, Caleb Love was 4 of 18. R.J. Davis was 2 of 7. Armando Baycock. Now, I understand Baycock, he was not himself, Skip. He was gutting it out on that bad ankle. He gave him what he could. He still had, 13, 14 rebounds. He played as well as he could. But in the second half, those three combined to go 6 of 31 for 19%. For the game, they were 13 of 54 for 24%.
Yep.
Well, Skip, if three of your best players, the guy that you're really counting on, plays that bad, it's going to be hard for you to win a ball game. I thought Hubert Davis should have called a timeout earlier. I thought he was waiting for the TV timeout, but you got to quell that run, Skip. You got to stop some of that momentum. And it seemed like R.J. Davis and Caleb Love, they kept trying to get 5 and 6 points back on one shot instead of working the offense, putting them in the high pick and roll, and getting to the basket.
Yep.
But Carolina, I don't know what Hubert Davis started to have. A team is down by 15. It's just like in any sport, Skip. If I'm down in baseball, I'm going to have to be a little aggressive on the base pass. If I'm down in football, I'm going to have to turn up my defense. You're up first. Let's force a turnover. Let's give the offensive short field. And what did Kansas do? Carolina got the ball, first possession, force a turnover. And then they come down to like 2 possessions later. They bring pressure, and the guy steps over the end line. Now it's Kansas ball again. I just felt the Tar Heels did a terrible job of handling the pressure that Kansas brought in the second half, almost as if they didn't expect it.
Full court. It was full court, man-to-man.
Because I got to, Skip.
It wasn't trap zone or anything. It was just man-to-man.
Just picking them up, and it just caused – they got 4 or 5 quick turnovers, which led to transitions, which led to all of a sudden Kansas is back in the game and feeling good about themselves. So for me, Skip, yes, I don't want to take anything from Kansas to play as well as they did the second half. They shot the ball extremely well, but it became mental for the Tar Heels. But Carolina, the Tar Heels blew this game. There's a reason why this is the largest come-from-behind victory in championship game history. They blew this. They had an opportunity to put their foot on their necks, and they allowed Kansas to stay in the ball game the second half. And once that second half took off, Skip, that pressure, it was just too much for them to overcome. Tar Heels blew this one.
And then some. In all my years of watching and covering March Madness, Final Fours, my first one was 79, Magic Bird, Salt Lake City. I have never, ever seen anything like what transpired last night in New Orleans. I saw the greatest championship game ever played in 1982. I was sitting in courtside in the front row, and it was a freshman named Mike Jordan making the shot to win the game against Georgetown, and it was arguably the greatest collection of championship game talent ever on one court with Worthy, Jordan, Perkins,
and Ewing.
And Sleepy Floyd, who was a very good NBA player.
I think he got the record for the most playoff points in a quarter. He dropped 52, might have been on your Lakers.
That is correct. So the point was, I just thought it was done at halftime. I was like drifting off a little bit like, well, this is going to be an easier night because this one's going to get really ugly. Because in the first half, your 8-seeded Carolina Tar Heels just tarred the heels of the Kansas Jayhawks. They bully balled them. They punished them. They out-physicaled them. They out-toughed them. They out-he-manned them. It looked like a man against boys mismatch to me because your team can be so physical and so aggressive on the backboards. And again, it stood the test of the whole game. 55 to 35? That's absurd. You can't find that kind of discrepancy on the backboards.
Biggest discrepancy in championship game history.
And find a team that overcame that. It's just impossible. Okay, what do I know about Bill Self? I've known him forever, since my days back in the Chicago Tribune. He actually was born and raised in a little town where my father came from called Okmulgee, Oklahoma, so we always sort of shared that detail. Okay. And the point is, I like Bill Self. He's a good guy. We'll talk in a moment about the cloud that's been hanging over his head. But the point is, I know him fairly well, and I think he's a good guy and a very good basketball coach.
So do I.
But at some points in his career, I have suspected he's just too nice of a guy because his teams aren't physical enough. They aren't intense enough. Like the difference between Coach K and Bill Self is Coach K has an edge to him, has always had some edge where they play with a furious sort of intensity.
Yes.
We are Duke and you are not.
Right.
And with Kansas, look at Bucknell I was on Cold Pizza in 2005. They lost in the first round to Bucknell, and they've had a long series of disasters, even since they won that championship back in 2008, as you call. Let's look at the history here. Bill Self's been knocked out in the second round 5 times, Sweet 16 twice, Elite 8 3 times, once in the national semifinals and once in the championship game.
And he's had much better teams than what he brought to the championship last night.
Okay, so my point to you is, this was another Bill Self special. You get to the big stage, to the biggest dance of the big dance, and you're just a little soft. You're just a little too nice. You don't come out with the edge and the intensity. They started fast. They got off to a real fast start, and then they just folded.
Right.
And Carolina scores the last bucket of the half, and I think that's it.
Right.
It's just game over. And you look at second chance points in the first half. It was 18-2 Carolina. Yep. Well, this is just crazy upside down.
Right.
And then that happened. And my favorite stat of the night is that your Carolina Tar Heels, over the last 25 years, when they've had a 15-point or more lead at halftime, they're 161-0. 161-0, and that happened thanks to a Bill Self team. It's hard to believe. But as I always say about March Madness, it is madder than March, in large part because that three-point line is closer than the NBA's three-point line. And because of it, it's not much more than a free throw. Right. And you will do or you will die from the three-point line because it becomes a three-point shooting contest, basically.
And plus, Skip, you got to realize these are kids now. They're 18, 19-year-olds.
Right. Well, some of them are about to play pro basketball, but you know how that goes. And this was kind of a starless championship game.
You ain't looking at anybody like, oh, yeah, he's going to be a star.
No, he's going to change somebody's life.
No.
Okay. I did love what Caleb Love had been doing through the tournament because he's 6'4", and he plays with a power and a strength and a conviction that had me saying, you know what? He just might be able to do a little more in pro basketball than you think. Right. Until last night. And to your point, in the second half, he takes 18 shots in the second half. That's a lot of shots for a game, really. 18 shots, and he made 4. Right. And in the second half, they go 11 of 40. Think about that. That's 27.5% from the floor. Yep. I mean, that's way below Russell Westbrook, right? I mean, that's horrendously bad. Meanwhile, Kansas is going 57.6% from the floor on 19 of 33. Okay, well, if you got that kind of discrepancy, guess what's going to happen to the scoreboard? It's going to tilt back in favor of Kansas. Yes. And to your point, they sped up the tempo. They full court press, man-to-man, and all of a sudden, Carolina's kind of playing over their skis. You know, they're just a little out of control, and they have 8 second-half turnovers, and too many times they just get going a little too fast, and either Caleb or RJ's dribbling up the floor too fast, you're a little out of control, and the ball bounces up in the air, and it's going the other way for easy bucket. Yep. And then, by the way, I got to make the case that David McCormick just rose and shone.
I thought he should have been their best outstanding player.
How can he not be? Just quick point of order, and I know they're just kids, but wait a second. Abaji is the most outstanding player, and I know that I think they do it for both games in the Final Four. Right. But in the second half, while his team is making the run, look what he does in the second half. Abaji goes 1 of 4, 0 of 2 from 3, 2 of 6 from the free throw line, and that qualifies as most outstanding player. That's insane. Yeah. Who voted for that? and I would say they took the vote prematurely, but he didn't do anything in the second half. No. And then if we could see what McCormick did on 2 low-post little jump hooks, one off an offensive rebound that you talked about, but these are the 2 plays of the game. So he.
Skip, I couldn't tell if he left-handed or right-handed because he throws hooks with both hands.
He does. I think he's right-handed, but he is ambidextrous. These are the 2 plays of the game. And by the way, your man Baycott, he finally turned the ankle over before the last possession. So they come at 1:20 and then at 22 seconds. On the first one, he's defended, and he actually got his own offensive rebound miss and puts it back in. But then Baycott goes down and out, and so it leaves Brady Manick, who goes like, I might give him 6'9", 6'8"-ish. And so he's got to go low post defender on McCormick, and he just got no shot.
Yeah, he ain't got enough bricks in his pocket.
Okay.
McCormick is a grown man.
He's a grown man, and he makes 2 huge little, those are sweet jump hooks.
Yes, they are.
Those are pro basketball plays to me. And you make those 2, and now it comes down to, can Carolina just make a shot? Can somebody, can Caleb make a shot? But he was just completely lost. So he steps out of bounds twice, and he walks, and he threw it right to Brady Manick. Well, if he doesn't step out of bounds and you're not calling him for that, if Brady Manick just intercepts and goes the other way, don't you probably get a better shot at time?
Probably does, because it's what, 5? I think they put 4.3 on the 4.3 on the clock.
Okay.
But yeah, Skip, I thought Manick should have got better opportunities in the second half also. But
look at him. He
only has 6 attempts.
He just disappears. I don't know what happened.
Skip, he only had 4 shot attempts. He's 4 of 8, 3 of 6 from and 2 of 2.
Okay, but in the second half, he's 1 of 3.
Yeah.
What?
Because he couldn't.
Where did you go?
Skip, he couldn't get no shots because Caleb Love was taking. Caleb Love had because between Caleb Love and R.J. Davis, they were 6 of 25. Baycott was 0 of 6, so that's 6 of 31 from 3 of your top 4 players. Leaky Black getting in foul trouble also hurt him because Braun, it put Caleb Love at a mismatch with Braun. And
Braun,
now
they call it Brown.
Brown,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So
it looks like Braun, but it's Brown. And by the way, he played very well.
In the second half, because he only had 2 points in the first half, and then he was getting on the backboards, and then he was he had 10 or 12 points in the second half. But I also thought, Skip, they went away, and you could tell the ankle had started to bother Baycott because he had damn near all the bigs in foul trouble. But they went away from it, and so they were able to stay on the court a lot longer than what they should have. Had that ankle been healthy, I believe they pound the ball inside. He gets those big guys in foul trouble, and the discrepancy in rebounding is going to be even greater than what it was. I don't want to take anything away from Kansas. Kansas clearly came out in the second half and said, look, let's pick up with pressure and see what happens. Let's go for 5 minutes. Guys, 5 minutes, let's see what we can do. They flipped it in under 5 minutes. And now, all of a sudden, Skip, you know how it goes, the momentum swings like that. We saw it against a professional team, Atlanta, had a 28-3 lead. And when the momentum flipped just like that. We saw Kansas City and the Bengals. It flipped just like that.
Okay, but to you guys' credit, you didn't fold. You could have folded because you went down 6 at one point. And they hung in and they fought back.
Rebounded. They had 24. What they have 16 offensive rebounds. 16 offensive rebounds in the second half. 24 for the game.
There
are going to be very few times that you find a college or professional ball game where a team has 24 offensive rebounds and they don't win that game. That means you're going to get a lot of second chance points. And the more second chance points, the greater the likelihood of you are winning. I'm shocked when I look at these stats. Plus 20 in the rebounding. But the turnovers to start the third quarter, Skip, they turned the ball over 5 times in about 6 minutes.
Yeah. I know some people will say, well, your Tar Heels just ran out of gas, especially after 2 huge games against Duke, the first one at Cameron Indoor to end the regular season, and then certainly in the national semifinal where they just played higher, because they were just the 8th seed. There was a point I wasn't sure they were going to even get in the tournament. And maybe they just hit the emotional, psychological energy wall where they started to run out of gas. I didn't really see that.
I didn't see that either. I didn't see that either. But, Skip, they brought that guy, Remy Martin. What a name.
Remy Martin?
They brought Remy in. And
he doesn't even start.
And he got Carolina drunk with those threes because he started letting the threes go, Skip, and all of a sudden.
He made 3 out of 3 threes in the second half.
In the second half,
And every time he let it go, I'm like, that doesn't look that good.
Because he has a funny release on the ball, and the angle they do shot, I was like, that's not good. Damn, it went in.
The one from the corner, I thought it was going to hit the backboard, and it swished. I don't know.
He laid the ball up. He challenged Baycott with the left hand. That went in. They just start, and all of a sudden, you know how it goes. You get the momentum, you start to feeling confident, the basket get bigger and bigger, and Carolina's like, damn, we ain't getting nothing, and the basket gets smaller and smaller.
Yep.
And next thing you know, with a 15-point lead, all of a sudden you find yourself down.
All right. So as much as I personally like Bill Self, I think we should be objective and at least mention the fact that there is an ongoing NCAA investigation that has accused Kansas of 5 major violations in 2019 stemming from Adidas payments to recruits. The case, which could deal Kansas a postseason ban and Bill Self a significant suspension, remains unresolved. Okay, so that's hanging over.
Yeah.
And Mark Emmert, the president of the NCAA, then had to award the trophy, which I don't think he was real keen on awarding to the Jayhawks. And as he got up to do so, he was so flustered that he called them the Kansas City Jayhawks, which they obviously are not. And then he quickly corrected himself to University of Kansas Jayhawks.
Right.
But that's how discombobulated he was by the whole notion of, wait a second, we've been after this coach in this school, and nothing resolved, still ongoing.
Right.
And it's gone on for like 3 years.
Yeah.
So who knows what's
The NCAA don't have the teeth they once had. Once you start, Skip, you see Oklahoma and Texas moving around. Basically, these teams like, hey, what y'all want to do? The athletic directors and the presidents call each other, Skip, what do you want to do? You want to form this? You want to do that?
That's a fact.
They go outside the purview of the NCAA now, and the NCAA can do nothing. All they get to say is this the NCAA. But, Skip, that don't do it. Okay, yes, they're under investigation. He got that trophy right now, though. So whatever y'all find out, we're going to keep this trophy.
Okay. So I did feel for Hubert Davis.
I did too,
I knew him
Skip.
just a little bit from my days at ESPN when he was an analyst there, and a very good one.
Mm-hmm.
And he made a real shrewd move to go sit beside Roy Williams
Yep.
and just rise right into that position. And yet, these are the Carolina Tar Heels of Jordan and Worthy and Perkins. And remember, it goes all the way back to Larry Brown and George Carl played there.
Oh, they had great. They had Walter Davis. They had great Bob McAdoo.
Phil Ford.
Yes, they got great players. Vince Carter and Antoine Jameson and the Mays and the McGinnises. They're loaded. Raymond Feltons. They got great. But I'm shocked, Skip. I mean, this
all of which is why I just didn't think I would see this.
Right.
The second half is 47-29 Kansas. I didn't think Kansas had it in them, and I did not think Carolina had it in it to give up that kind of
Well,
lead.
I knew Kansas had it in them, Skip, because I watched them against Miami.
They came back.
Turned the heat up.
They were down 6 at halftime.
And all of a sudden, they score 40 in the second half, which we know they're capable. We see them score 47 last night. So I know they have it.
And Larinaga had them playing at a high level. I'd seen them a couple times before. They were a handful.
They played really well. So I'm saying to myself, okay, I know Kansas can make a run. Okay, but they're a big team. They're going to pound them inside, eat them up on the glass. They'll be able to weather the storm. I just felt that Hubert Davis, I don't know if they talked about it at half. Said, look, guys, anticipate pressure because they've got to pick up half. They cannot let us get into a set and just let us run our offense. So they got to do something. Anticipate that. Because I know if I'm ahead at the half, if we're up by 14, 21 points, Skip, I'm expecting the defense to come with pressure. You can't just sit back there and let us methodically go down the field. You've got to get out of character. So Kansas has got to come with pressure because what they did in the first half got them down 15. At this point, what do we have to lose?
Nothing.
Nothing. Exactly. So either it wasn't relayed or it didn't get conveyed. One of the two, but whatever the case may be, they blew this one, Skip. Like I said, sometimes, Skip, when we say they blew it, we're being very dismissive of Kansas. Kansas played well. They turned the pressure up. They started making shots. But 15 points, Skip, if you run your offense, if you don't turn the ball over, it's hard to see a scenario in which they come back and do what they did.
Just remember, Kansas didn't shoot them out of the gym in the second half. They made 4 of 10 threes, which is fine, but it's not making 10 threes in the second half.
Yeah, it's not 6 of 10, 7 of 10.
No, it's not. And in the end, I admired Caleb Love. I like what he's made of because he is fearless. He's one of those scorers, those shooter scorers, who just says, I got this. And if I miss that one, I'm going to make this one. And he just kept missing to the bitter end. And when you go 4 of 18 in the second half, you're probably going to lose.
And when he twisted his ankle, Skip, obviously he didn't have the same burst, the same lift. But Carolina shot 28% from the floor in the second half. They were 2 of 12 from the three-point line. That's 17% and 8 turnovers. Hence, that's how you blow a 15-point lead. But
Well, congratulations
coach in
to the
retirement. Coach K in
Jayhawks,
retirement.
guys.
You did do that.
It was a great game. You know, they took a little inspiration from that 2020 team and Bill Self talking about his late father at the end. It was wonderful all the way around.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.